The sun had just begun to dip below the horizon, casting an amber hue across the lonely stretch of highway. Mehak's white sedan slowed to a stop with a choking stutter, then gave up entirely. She turned the key again once, twice, but it only groaned in protest. Frustration filled her chest as she leaned back against the seat, blowing a slow breath. She stepped out onto the empty road, the cool evening breeze lifting strands of her hair. Dressed in a soft white blouse and snug jeans, she crossed her arms and stared at the stalled car like it had betrayed her. Her phone showed no signal. She was alone, somewhere between the city and the countryside, surrounded by silence and fading light. Minutes passed like hours. Cars zoomed by without a second glance, their headlights disappearing into the distance. Just as her hope was starting to wither, a dark SUV pulled over a few feet ahead. Her eyes narrowed cautiously as the door opened and a man stepped out. Tall, well-built, and calm in demeanor, he walked toward her slowly, hands visible, as if to assure her she had nothing to fear. His face held a quiet kindness beneath a scruffy jawline. "Evening," he said, his voice deep and smooth. "Car trouble?" Mehak nodded, brushing hair from her face. "It just stopped. Won't start again. Mind if I take a look?" She hesitated a beat before nodding. "Sure." He introduced himself as Ian as he popped the hood and checked the engine. His hands moved with ease, sure, confident, gentle. A few minutes later, the car coughed back to life. "There," he said, wiping his hands on a cloth he carried. "Loose battery cable. Nothing major." "Thank you," Mehak said, her eyes lingering on him longer than she meant to. "I guess I got lucky you were passing by." Ian smiled. "Or maybe I was supposed to." She laughed nervously, unsure how to respond. Something about him was disarming, not just his looks, but his presence. It had weight, calm, gravity, like the world slowed around him. He glanced around. "Sun's almost gone. You probably don't want to drive alone through the hills in the dark. Mind if I keep you company for a bit? Just until you're sure the car holds up." Normally, she'd say no, but something in her chest said yes. Maybe it was the silence before him. Maybe it was the way he didn't push. "Okay," she said. They sat on the hood of her car, watching the final light melt away. Conversation flowed easily, about work, music, regrets, dreams. Time slipped between them like water. With each laugh, each glance, the space between their bodies grew smaller, less cautious, more curious. At one point, the wind picked up and Mehak shivered. "Here," Ian said, taking off his leather jacket and draping it over her shoulders. Their hands brushed for a second longer than necessary. Her skin tingled from the contact. "You're not afraid?" she asked softly, half teasing, half searching. "Of what? Of sharing a moment like this? With someone you just met?" He looked into her eyes, his gaze steady. "I think the world needs more moments like this. Unexpected, real." She didn't reply. She couldn't. Her breath had caught somewhere in her chest. "Would you mind," he said gently, "if we sat in the car? It's getting cold." She nodded, and they slipped into the front seats. The world outside became shadows and whispers. Inside, the space felt intimate, warm, and quiet. A soft hum of music played through the speakers, low, slow, sensual. They didn't speak for a while. Just sat, breathed, listened. Then he turned to her. "You have beautiful eyes," he said. "They tell me things you haven't said out loud." She turned toward him slowly, lips parting just a little. "Like what?" "Like you've been strong for too long and you're tired." Her eyes fluttered. He leaned closer, not all the way, just enough to test the air between them. When she didn't pull away, he let his fingers trace the line of her jaw. A featherlight touch, patient and respectful. "Is this okay?" he asked. She nodded. Their lips met, soft at first, exploring. It wasn't rushed. It was an answer to all the questions their eyes had asked. Her hand slid along his shoulder, feeling the firmness of his frame. He held her gently, like she was something fragile and wild. The kiss deepened. Breath mingled with breath. Her back pressed into the seat as he leaned in closer, his lips moving down her neck, tasting the warmth of her skin. Mehak's fingers wove through his hair, pulling him closer. Every movement was slow, intentional. Their bodies shifted, facing each other more fully in the limited space. She let her legs rest over his lap as he cradled her closer. Clothes remained mostly in place, but the energy between them grew thick, a sensual heat, like fire beneath silk. His hand rested on her waist, her breath catching as his thumb brushed bare skin beneath her blouse. They weren't strangers anymore. His forehead rested against hers. "You're beautiful," he whispered. "So are you," she breathed back, her voice trembling. They kissed again, deeper, more urgent, but still within the rhythm of trust. Fog crept up the windows. Their silhouettes moved in unison, lost in a private world that felt stolen from reality. Time lost meaning. Eventually, their breath slowed, and they simply held each other in the hush that followed. He stroked her hair. She curled into his chest. Neither wanted to speak first, fearing words might break the magic. Outside, dawn began to stretch its fingers across the sky. "I should go," she whispered, not wanting to. "I know," he said softly, "but I'm glad I stopped." She looked at him, brushing her thumb along his jaw. "Me too." They stepped out of the car, the cool morning breeze wrapping around them like a curtain falling. The road was still empty. Everything felt quieter than before, but also fuller. He opened his car door, then paused. "If we meet again," he said, "I hope it's not by accident." She smiled, her eyes misty. Maybe it was never an accident at all. With one last glance, he drove away, leaving her with a heart racing and a memory that would burn for a long time. Mehak sat behind the wheel, lips still tingling, skin still warm. She looked at the empty seat beside her and smiled. Some moments don't need a future to matter. They just need to happen. And this one had happened perfectly.